Have you ever wanted to be in technology or dreamt about being a software developer or engineer, but did not want to go back to school for computer science for 4 years, plus the expenses it brings, plus the stress, plus how do people do it? If that's you, you are not alone. I was someone who, after I graduated university for something completely different than software development or software engineering, I discovered software developing and instantly fell in love with it. I love the tech industry, how versatile it was, how you can constantly be growing and learning, and also too how you could use a skill but travel or work from somewhere else. All these great things, but in the back of my mind, I was saying, I do not want to go back to school for computer science for another 4 years. It was not in the cards. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I became a software developer without a computer science degree. I'm going to talk to you about things I wish I knew, how I did it, and if I would do it again. As someone who has worked for small companies, non-for-profits, to big tech companies, to freelancing, and now at a big tech company, I've really been able to see the benefits of being in the tech industry. And I'm not saying it's all roses or positive, but I'm so happy I decided to make that leap from fashion, modeling, marketing into the tech industry because it is such a fast growing industry. And I've learned so many skills along the way that it's been one of the best decisions, best leaps I've taken. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some background, but kind of a quick version of it because I feel like I talk about my background a lot. So if you don't know my background, I will link down below some stories of really how I got into technology. However, I'll go over it quickly because it really does impact how I was able to get into a software developer position without a CS degree. When I was in university, I studied graphic communications management, which is essentially what it sounds like: a bit of graphic design, a bit of communication courses, and a bit of management courses. It was in my 4th year. It was required to take a very basic, like I'm talking CSS and HTML coding course of just like putting together a static website kind of thing. But I instantly fell in love with it, both the idea of using logic on one hand, but then also being very creative on the other hand. And when I started going down and researching, going down like a rabbit hole and researching software development, I really was intrigued by it, by all of the benefits that this job could really bring you. So once I graduated from university, I was faced with the choice of, do I want to go back to school for another 4 years to get a computer science degree? Do I want to go to a coding bootcamp, or do I want to self-teach? I definitely did not want to go back to school for another 4 years to get a computer science degree, and these are my reasons why. I just graduated from university. I was in school for 4 years already. I didn't have the finances to go back to school for another 4 years, and it didn't really make sense to me to go back to school and just get a second degree. If I was going to go back to school, I would want it to be for my master's or for a certification. So that took out computer science. And one of the things that I was really worried about was, will I be taken seriously if I don't have a computer science degree? And I thought about that for a while. I spoke to a lot of people, and I quickly realized that there are so many people in this industry who come from so many different paths of life. I mean, obviously computer science is still currently the most popular way to become a software developer, but it definitely is not the only way. What I started to do was some self-learning, but I found for me personally, and I think this is something you really have to decide on an individual level. For me personally, my self-learning was going really slow. I kept on getting distracted or just kind of off the beaten path, you could say, as to my learning goes. And I thought, you know what, I need some help. And that's why I decided to end up going to a coding bootcamp. I didn't go to a coding bootcamp because I thought it would teach me everything and I would become this genius out of it, but I knew what it would do is provide me extra support that I needed for questions I had, just kind of that community sense. And that to me was something that, for the way I learn, I really needed. After my boot camp was 3 months long. I felt completely unprepared still, like I knew nothing. And I think that's a total normal feeling though, like I did know things, but just feeling that imposter syndrome still of, oh, I'm not good enough, or I didn't learn anything, or maybe I should go back to school for another 4 years. That kept on popping in my head, like, oh, I need a CS degree. That was something very strong. I think too, because when I was looking at job applications, a lot of them were saying computer science degree, or if you don't have a computer science degree, you need relevant 4 years work experience. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. What do people do who don't have a computer science degree but need 4 years work experience but don't have any? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I kept on looking around and just kind of I think one of the biggest takeaways that I can't stress enough is persistence. It's not going to be easy. It is going to be worth it, but you really need to be persistent. From learning how to code, from job hunting to starting your first job, it's all very uncomfortable feelings you're going to feel. These are all new things you're learning, and it's essentially a new way of thinking for a lot of people, including myself. And it's a big learning curve. It's a steep learning curve. And if you are someone who is able to do it though, I'll tell you one thing, you will be so persistent in so many other areas of your life, so driven because of your experience with this and seeing how if you just stick to the path that you really want to get to and achieve, you can accomplish it. It just sometimes is like not easy. So what I did was I started applying to more smaller scale startup companies. And the reason for that was because I found that their interview process, to be completely candid, wasn't as tedious as say FAANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google. Like I knew that the startups would be a little bit more lax on their interview process, maybe more willing to have a junior come on because can ramp up on learning. I don't know if that really makes sense or not, but that was my thought process at the time. So I ended up finding a small company. It was a non-for-profit, and they didn't have a developer position, but what they did have was a QA position, quality assurance. And for a lot of people, when they got out of their boot camp or graduate or self-taught, they were like, no, I need my developer position. I'm not doing anything but that. And that's how I was too. But I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try and just be open-minded, try QA. There are things that you can learn from any position. It's it's still in the tech space. So that's like a good sign. And just see, you know, if I make a good impression on the company, then maybe I can move into a developer role. And that's exactly what I did. I don't even know how long I was in QA for, but after a while I was able to move. I think like it was under a year I was in QA, but I don't remember the timeline. But anyways, under a year, and then I switched into developer role. And I did that by really just starting to pick up very small tickets on my own, picking up just small tasks that were development required and showing that I wanted to take initiative, that I really wanted to learn, and just trying to get familiar with the code base. When I started my first developer job, I felt lucky that it was at a company that really encouraged growth and wanted me to succeed. So there was a lot of one-on-one help, I felt like I was in school pretty much again. And it was a really good experience in the sense that it was people understand if you're a junior developer, typically from my experience, that you're not going to know everything and they want to help you learn. And if that isn't the case, then it's probably not a good company. You want to be with a company that wants you to learn and wants you to succeed. And from there, I ended up staying in the developer position stayed with the company for just under 2 years, and then moved to a big tech company. And that's where I am now. And I'm just having a wonderful experience there as well. But I think at the end of the day, if you are someone who is considering getting into tech or software development or engineering, and you don't have a computer science degree and you don't have the time, the money, the energy, any of the above to go back to school for another 4 years, it's not only completely possible, but it's becoming more and more common for people to become software developers through self-teaching, through going to boot camps, or through a mixture of both. If you are someone out there who is like, okay, well, what advice do you have? What should I be doing? I would say identify first the way that you learn. If you are someone who can learn software development on your own to a degree, then that's great. Spend time, carve out time, treat it like a job or school where you sit down X amount of hours a day and you learn. And same goes for if you're going to a boot camp. But for me, once again, I went to a boot camp strictly because I needed extra support and that community. Other ways that you can get that if boot camps aren't for you are through online communities. I mean, that's why I started this platform, is to support and encourage others. I know I already said it and I'll say it again, you have to be persistent. This isn't easy. As my dad would always say, if this was easy, everyone would do it. So don't just give up, or don't feel as though you aren't moving as quickly as other people, or maybe you just aren't smart enough for it, because you are. You can do this, you just need to be persistent. And so many people start in this road on software development and then just give up because it's difficult, or maybe it's not for them, maybe it's too tough. But if it's something you're really passionate about, you will get there. Just stick to it. Thank you all for watching my video. I hope this was at least something inspiring to you, that trust me, if I could do it, you can too. And you don't need necessarily a computer science degree. That being said, just to be clear, there are a lot of great things that computer science degrees bring people, and I'm not taking away from that, but more so saying if it's not feasible for you to do that right now, don't let that stop you.